Hey folks, this is Ryan from ORS Snowshoes Direct here in glorious Vermont, hanging out in our warehouse today. Sorry the ambiance isn't ideal, but we're here for information. I'm going to walk you through our Xpedition all-mountain category of snowshoes. These are the snowshoes that are going to have the most traction for the steepest terrain. They're going to have the most support in the bindings. The materials are going to be the best quality, lightweight, durable. You know, these are go anywhere, truly go anywhere snowshoes. There's a lot of options, so we're just going to kind of gloss over them, give you some idea of the differences, but if you want more specific information, certainly go to the product page for, say, the 11 series from Atlas, and you'll get all sorts of information pertaining to that particular model. All right, let's start off with Crescent Moon. Crescent Moon, made in Boulder, Colorado. This is a top of their line for Xpedition type stuff. The Backcountry Gold 10 it's called. And take a look at the traction on that thing. I mean, you got traction everywhere, and they're big, steep crampons, meaning that they'll penetrate into deep snow, and you've got traction in these side cleats here, as well as your heel and toe. You got a lot of traction. You're going to be able to climb some pretty aggressive terrain. The single pull binding is standard on their shoes. Very, very comfortable material, easy to use. You slide your foot in, you pull this tab against your boot. This will wrap around nice and comfortable. No pressure point, give you a nice secure fit. You got a heel strap obviously as well, and it's pretty much a fixed toe cord, so when you take a step, a lot of that shoe comes off the ground. Some people really like that. It's a pretty simple design, so there's not a lot that can go wrong. And anyway, there it is, the Crescent Moon Gold 10. Nice shoe. MSR, we've been carrying these for many years. They're US made as well. There's two models here. The more standard MSR Evo, this is their molded shoe. Tons of traction on this shoe. These come in one size, but they have a tail you can add on right there. That clips on to give you extra flotation when you're in some deep snow. When you don't need the extra flotation, you take the tail off, and you've got a shoe that's easier to walk in, easier to get around trees and maneuver and that sort of thing. The binding uses 3 stretchy straps, really easy to use. It doesn't look real fancy, but I'll show you how one strap works. Basically, you'll put your foot on the top of the binding. This can just hook into that buckle right there. You tension it, and then you find a hole for that tab to fall in, and you've got a very secure fit that's not going to budge. You know, it's a no frills binding, but it really, really works well. It's very, very secure and very, very comfortable. And you can really fine tune it because you've got 3 straps to get it just right. As is common on most of the shoes in this category, you're going to also get a climbing bar. That's a place for your heel to land when you're doing a long ascent. That gives you, reduces your calf fatigue significantly. It's really a simple but nice feature for that kind of snowshoeing. So there it is, the MSR Evo Ascent. The Lightning Ascent from MSR, different design. Now we're talking about rather than a molded shoe, it's a aluminum frame, very, very lightweight, very durable decking material that's stretched across it. To simplify and to save weight, they've incorporated, I'll take these off, the frame is also traction. So they're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone with this design. Also have modular tails that can be clipped on for additional flotation. Get that out of the way here. There we go. So, you know, you start off with 1 length, and then you can always add additional 5 inches for more flotation if needed. This particular model is a women's versus the men's. The only main difference is that there's a little bit more of a taper in the tail section. By the way, there's men's and women's versions of all of these shoes here, with the exception of the Evo. But anyway, very similar binding, same binding in fact. Again, lots and lots of traction all over the place. Very, very lightweight and cool. US made shoe. That's what really makes this stand out. There it is, the MSR Lightning Ascent. All right, we got 3 models from Atlas to look at. We've got the 11 series, the 12 series, and the Aspect. The 11 and 12 series, here's a men's 11, here's a women's 12. Again, you can see the difference in the tail. That's the big difference. Otherwise, color and also the bindings on women's shoes are a little bit smaller to fit a smaller range of sizes, but feature-wise, they're the same. Let's take a look at the 11 series. Actually, let's compare them side by side. So the 12 series, if you take a look, you'll notice there is certainly more aggressive traction on the 12 series. So for more aggressive terrain, you're going to get a benefit of better traction. That's a good thing. They both have a climbing bar. And you know, similar decking material, although this has got kind of this embroidered thing, which is kind of cool and unique. The bindings are similar in how they work, but the difference between the 2 bindings, and this is a pretty significant thing, The Wrap Pro binding on the 12 series has this material that won't ice up, and it slides really smoothly. So tightening this and loosening it is a very, very simple process. Whereas with this, the 11 series, you've got more of a standard nylon strap. It's a little more friction, and it can actually ice up. So this material is pretty cool. Very, very easy to use, comfortable, and it won't ice up, which is nice. There's a nice bit of padding in there, so very, very comfortable, secure fit on this binding. And as with all Atlas models, the bindings are suspended on these bands here. And they call it spring-loaded, so that when you're taking your step, your foot moves independently of the frame. You can get a really, really good foothold on uneven terrain with this design. It's sort of a kind of a cross between a fixed and a rotating tow cord. There's an angle built in, so the snow should shed off the tail, but yet it doesn't swing away. This allows you to really pick the shoe up over an obstacle if needed. That's a nice feature there. So really, the other difference between the 12 series is the frame. This is called the reactive frame. It's manipulated to be even stiffer and lighter. So a better frame, more aggressive traction, and an easier to use binding on the 12 versus the 11. Otherwise, they're pretty similar. The Aspect 24, this is kind of more of a shoe designed to be able to be packed flat. So if you're like a snowboarder, you're going to go up the top of the mountain, you're going to take these off, put them on your pack, you want them to nest together. This binding will lay flat. The shoe is very flat. The traction, very similar to the MSR Lightning, where it's built into the frame. Very, very rugged, lightweight, minimalist design, and the ability to pack flat. Comes with a climbing bar. It's got the spring-loaded binding. It's an Atlas, so all of their shoes have that. So great articulation. There's no need to incorporate flex into the frame, so this frame is really, really stiff because you get that side-to-side articulation in the binding. The binding itself is meant to be first and foremost able to pack flat, so it looks a little confusing. It's mainly because it's twisted right now, but it's really just a simple strap type binding. You basically slide the strap through these buckles. It kind of crisscrosses over your boot, and you tighten it. It does offer a secure fit, but the main feature is that it can pack flat. That's the big thing. So that's the Aspect series right there. Moving on to Tubbs, we've got the Xpedition, the Mountaineer, and then we have the Flex. We'll push these over and talk about those in a second. Let's just focus on these two models. Kind of the same story between like the Atlas 11 and 12. What are the differences between these two? Mainly, again, traction. You got to take a close look, but you'll notice that the traction on the 12 series here, the Mountaineer is really aggressive. Big, tall. I mean, you can walk up a frozen waterfall on these things. Pretty aggressive on the Xpedition as well, but even more so on the Mountaineer. Bindings, they use a similar type of tightening system where you pull these straps outward to cinch it around your boot, and then you pull this loop to loosen. So it's kind of a simple design. But the difference between the two, these are pretty flexible, definitely stiffer, and also more padding to give you a more secure, more comfortable fit on the Mountaineer shoe. Both have a climbing bar. That's a good thing. And our aluminum frames. But the big difference between the two, more support, more comfort built into the binding, more traction. And I should point out one other feature with this. You'll notice the binding itself does have a rotating toe cord, so it does pivot freely, but to get the side-to-side articulation, they've actually suspended it on these bands here. So there is quite a bit. It's hard to do with my thumbs, but your body weight will certainly activate those to flex side to side to give you good side-to-side articulation. So you can see it's kind of cushioned, kind of suspended like that, so the binding can kind of float. That's a nice feature as well. And that's also available here on the Xpedition model. So there are those two. And then finally, we've got the Flex Alp. Here we got a molded shoe. This is a plastic molded shoe designed mostly for packed terrain, or in this category, it's going to be windswept, icy terrain. So traction and stability are your big things, not so much flotation. So plenty of traction all over the place on this thing. I mean, traction. The shoe has that molded feature, so it can flex and really articulate to the terrain, but the tail has all this extra flex built in. So every time you take a step, when the heel of the snowshoe is coming down, the tail of the snowshoe is coming down on that icy snow, the snowshoe will flex and roll you into a nice comfortable step. So again, the ideal comfortable shoe for really hard packed terrain. The binding is very similar to the active fit that you saw on the Mountaineer binding. You pull that to tighten. It's got a nice little pad there. You got a heel strap as well. Good, pretty good stiffness built into the binding here for extra support. Tow cord rotates and hits a stop, so snow will shed off the tail. And why would you choose this shoe over this one? Well, you like that flexible feature for that more hard pack terrain. Some people just like the idea of a traditional design, and that's great too. No reason to try something new if this is what you like. This just gives you that option. And we just put this one here. This is also the Flex Out, but this is the extra large. This is an extra large shoe. Even though these are for packed terrain where a larger shoe isn't really necessary because you don't need the extra surface area because you're on packed snow, well, sometimes you might end up in some deep snow. So now you've got the benefit of that Flex design with a larger platform for heavier folks or people who are carrying a lot of extra weight. It'll give you that extra flotation if you happen to end up in some deep snow, which my guess, if you're in this category, you probably will. So there you go. All right, so again, get more info on the product pages for each additional shoe. Hopefully this helps a little bit decide which might be right for you. Thanks a lot for watching, folks. My name is Ryan from ORS Snowshoes Direct.